So in a previous video, we talked about using an if statement for conditional logic. And that's great if you're looking for 2, maybe 3 conditions. But if you're looking at more than that, that becomes a little bit challenging. For example, let's take a look at our scripts here. And I'm going to use get on the right screen here, GCI, get child item. So let's take a look at our number parameter script. So I want to copy that. So again, I'm going to use a shortcode cp add -num param.ps1, and I'm going to do it to math param.ps1. All right. Now let's say that I wanted to do add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Well, now I'm looking at 4 different options, right? So I'd have to test 4 different options. Would be if equals A, then do this, else if, else if, else if, else. So there is a easier way to do this, and we'll do this when using our parameter script. We do it using a switch block. So let me show you how this works. Let's do Notepad, math, param, if I can type, .ps1. All right, and here is our script block. So I'm going to add another parameter here, and I'm going to want it to be mandatory equals true. So I'm going to just copy this line rather than having to recreate it. And I'm going to add it down here. And then my parameter is going to be $funct or function. Now I need to remember to put a comma after this parameter. So now this script is going to take 3 parameters, num1, num2, and function. So scroll down a little bit because I'm going to need some more room here. So here's the way this is going to work. Let me actually, I'll keep that because I'm going to copy it here in a minute. So I'm going to tell it I want to do a different function based on this parameter. So I'm going to use the command switch and then in parentheses $funct. So switch on that function variable. And then a curly bracket to open up the script block for the switch. And then I'm going to tab over to give myself a little bit of room. And I'm going to say if it's an A, then do another script block. $sol1 or $sol equals num1 plus num2. And then I'm going to do this. Now, what I just did is I can run multiple lines here inside my script block. Or I can use a semicolon here to separate commands. So this, with that semicolon, is the same thing as doing this. The only thing is, if I do it with a semicolon, I get to keep it all on one line. And that's going to be kind of useful to me because I'm now going to take this whole thing and I'm going to copy it. Control C to copy, and then second, third, fourth, and I'm going to do a 5th time. So here are my options. So I'm going to have A to add, S to subtract, M to multiply, D to divide. And so I'm going to change my functions, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now in all of these I wanted to display the solution, so I'm leaving that right host the solution is. Now this one right here, this is going to be basically my else if. So this is going to be my catch all. So instead of setting a particular value for it, I'm going to say that's my default. And so my default is going to be to right host, and I'm going to say invalid function. Won't capitalize that. We'll just make it a sentence. Invalid function. And then I need to end this whole thing by closing out that script block. Now, see how much easier this is rather than doing if A, then else if S, else if M, else if D, else, and then setting the default. So a switch function, if you're doing just a couple of things, so if you're just comparing and you're looking for 1 of 2 answers, maybe 3, then if and else if work great. But if you have a whole bunch, then switch makes a lot more sense. All right, let's see if this works. So I am going to save my file, and we'll see if I typoed anything. And I'm going to minimize. And then here, I'm going to issue, hey, I didn't put a dash in. All right, that's fine. Math param, first number, second number, and function. And hey, it'd probably help if I specified period backslash math param. The solution is 9. What if I subtract it? The solution is -1. If I multiply it, the solution is 20. If I divide it, the solution is 0.8. And if I say blue, it says invalid function. Perfect. That's exactly the way we want it to work. So, let me pull up my little notepad file again, and we'll run through this real quick. And it was this one, not the other one. Restore, there we go. So, what we did is we used the switch function. So it's switch, and then in parentheses, whatever your variable you're switching on, open a script block, and then put all of your options. And for each option, you're going to have another script block that says, for this option, do this. You don't have to add a default one at the end, but it really kind of makes sense to, just so you have a catch-all if somebody puts in something that doesn't fit. And then you close it with another script block. And that's how we can use a switch statement in PowerShell to do conditional logic.